Hey, hello.
Hello, Rabbi. Can you see me?
I do now. Yes, I see you. And you see me?
See you perfectly.
Hello,
Okay. Shalom.
Shalom. Can you see me?
I do.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yes, likewise. I am going to multiple. No, okay. I'm just giving you guys the ability to share now. You want who's sharing the presentation?
Yehuda, I
Uh,
think you
that,
should.
that would be me. Yes.
All right. So just let's get that up on the screen.
Let me just see how to do this. Okay, window. Yes.
Which part of Israel are you guys in?
Actually, in the same part, we're in Gush Dan.
Very nice. So you work remotely into the States.
Yeah, kind of.
Right. You, Omer, have a lot of light shining right on you. You're very like it's very it's like a light shining on you, so makes it a little fuzzy and your
Yeah. Maybe I'll blur it a bit.
All right, so Yehuda, are you sharing anything? Or?
Yes, I'm just getting it uploaded as we speak.
Okay.
Presentation.
Mm.
Perfect. Let me just share the screen. Let's see. I want to go to my desktop. Omer, you know how to share the screen? See right here. Let's find it. Beautiful.
Yeah, I can see.
Can see it now.
Yeah, I do.
Amazing. Okay.
Okay,
Just
yes, I see it there. So you'll just leave it on the screen and I hear you both clearly. I see you clearly. Again, Omer, you have a little bit of like the light is interesting on your.
Yeah, I've tried to fade it, but it's a bit
That's a
difficult.
little better, or should no. I don't know what just happened, but okay. It'll be what it'll be. So it's 1:59. We're all gonna shut our mics and our cameras.
All right.
I give 5 minutes for people to come on now. So we're gonna start the presentation in 5.5 minutes. So for now, just close your camera. I'm gonna at 2:05, I'm gonna come on. I'll introduce you, and once I introduce you, then you'll turn on your cameras and start the presentation, okay?
Okay, no problem.
All right. Great. Looking forward. Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming and joining for today's webinar. It is now 2:02. We're going to wait 3 more minutes till 2:05 to begin the webinar. So please sit back, relax. You could put your cameras on mute, and we'll be starting the program very shortly. Once again, good afternoon. Welcome, and thank you for coming on time to today's webinar. It is now 2:03. We're going to give 2 more minutes for people to join. The presentation will begin at 2:05. Good afternoon. Once again, thank you all for coming on time. It is now 2:04. We will begin today's webinar in exactly 1 minute, so hang tight. Good afternoon again. Welcome. We're just going to be another 30 seconds. We'll begin the program today at 2:05. Okay. Good afternoon. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar brought to you by CHYE. CHYE now been serving the Crown Heights and Greater Chabad community with small business services and mentorship for the last 14 years. All of our programs are free or low cost, thanks to generous donors. And Baruch Hashem, we're very proud that this past year we've engaged with 1,300 individuals across the range of our programs. Our budget currently $550,000, and we're looking to grow that this coming year to do more and to impact more. And one of our powerful programs that we're very proud of is our monthly small business webinar, where we bring to you important topics for you to know as you work to grow your business. Of course, in today's day and age, the number one topic that everybody wants to talk about is AI, because it's transforming the world and it's just an amazing and powerful tool. And we're very honored to have with us today 2 young people who have deep industry experience with AI, and they are going to be sharing with us from their experience in this. And we're excited to welcome Omer and Yehuda. Avi Friedman. Sorry, wrong. I'm reading the wrong introduction here. Sorry. Okay. Why isn't this coming up right?
Sure. By the way, just to let you know,
Yes.
the reminder that went out an hour ago has the wrong link in it.
That's not good. I'll have to have my admin send out an updated link. But we have with us Yehuda and Omer, who are experts in AI, and they've been building AI for businesses, and they're going to share with us from their experience. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome both of them, and we're going to give the presentation over. The way it works is they're going to present for about 40 minutes. If you have questions, post them in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat, and we'll bring it up to them. At the end of the presentation, there'll be time for direct engagement. You'll be able to ask questions directly to Yehuda and Omer. So without further ado, Yehuda, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. I understand your time is very valuable, and I truly appreciate you spending it with me and Omer. I'm very excited to share with you this presentation that we have titled Building Automated Infrastructure That Scales Your Business. We're going to start with a little introduction on myself and Omer, talk about who we are. So myself personally, I'm an Ole Chadash. I made Aliyah about 3.5 years ago with really one clear purpose in mind, to serve in the IDF. I've always had a deep passion for technology, even before coming to Israel, but the Army taught me something very critical: how systems under pressure either break or become incredibly resilient based on how they're built. I served in a unit called the Mirkaz Ha'esh, which translates to roughly around the fire center, located in Israel's Northern Command. For those unfamiliar, which I'm assuming is a large portion, this is the coordination hub for artillery operations, and I served during an incredibly tumultuous period. October 7th changed almost everything. The challenges we faced weren't just tactical, they were operational, logistical, and required us to adapt systems in real time under unimaginable pressure. What I learned during that period was when systems are well designed, automated, and integrated properly, they can handle chaos. And when they're not, they collapse. That experience really shaped everything about how I think about the technology for business today. So I'm going to let Omer introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hey everyone, thanks for your time. I'm Omer. I live in Israel, and I am the CEO of VIBEOB. I'm a recently discharged veteran from the IDF Artillery Corps, where I learned that precision and operational speed are everything. Today, I apply this same principle to the business world. Our mission is simple: making businesses more efficient. At VIBEOB, we leverage AI to transform manual chaos into streamline success, ensuring your technology works for you and not the other way around.
So we're going to start with the class overview. Tonight, we're going to cover 4 major areas. Firstly, we'll talk about the AI revolution. What's possible today that simply wasn't available even a couple of years ago. Secondly, we're going to look at market trends, specifically on how automation is creating a divide between businesses that are thriving and those that are struggling to keep up. Thirdly, we'll talk about a couple of real-world transformations, a couple of businesses that we helped, what they were struggling with, what we were able to build for them, and the results that they've seen. And finally, we'll open it up to you for some questions. So if you're ready, let's dive in. So now that we've covered the roadmap, I want to share a little bit about our personal philosophy at VIBEOB that drives how we work. We really operate on one main core belief: that enterprise level integration should not require enterprise level budgets. Just because you don't have a massive IT department doesn't mean you can't have massive power. Innovation shouldn't be a luxury reserved just for the Fortune 500. We believe that powerful tools should be accessible to businesses that actually drive the economy. High quality does not mean to have a high barrier to entry for these systems. In the modern market, agility is your biggest advantage over the giants. We believe that the gap between having an idea and executing it should be measured in days and weeks and never months. You should be able to move as fast as you can think. And finally, we believe that technology must be built to scale. Success shouldn't be a punishment. You shouldn't have to tear down your systems just because you succeeded and you were able to grow. We believe our tech foundation should be elastic, expanding effortlessly as you reach towards new heights without forcing you to start over. So Now that I shared a little bit about our philosophy with you, you don't really have to take my word for it. We've done some analytical research, and let's look at what happened over the market over just the last 6 months. We're going to show you some trends. First, looking at spending. We've seen a 47% increase in small business automation spending in just half a year. Small businesses are officially off the sidelines. They aren't waiting for the massive corporations to innovate first anymore. They are investing right now to claim their own competitive advantage. And you can see exactly where the investment is going. User adoption for these tools is up 62%. This isn't just a few tech-savvy startups. This is a mainstream adoption. Plugging into an integration platform is rapidly becoming as standard for a business as having a website or a CRM. Now, you may ask yourself, why the sudden explosion in growth? It's because of this third number. The barrier to entry has collapsed. Time to implementation has dropped by 80%. What used to take 4 to 6 months of painful disruption now takes 2 to 4 weeks. The technology has finally caught up to the speed at which you can actually run your business, and your business has its needs met. And when you can move that fast, the financial picture completely changes. Because the setup is so much faster, businesses are now seeing a full return on investment in just as short as 2 to 3 months. You are no longer locking up the capital and crossing your fingers for an entire year. You put the system in place today, and it's able to pay for itself by next quarter. So I want to start with the foundation. What has fundamentally changed in the technology landscape over the last few years? Depending on who you listen to, AI is either a hype bubble, it's about to burst, or it's Skynet from the Terminator coming to take everybody's job. The truth is, most people are missing the middle ground because they're looking at the wrong tools. A lot of skepticism comes from people playing with free consumer-grade chatbots, and they're assuming that that's the limit of the technology. But judging the entire industry based off of free tool is a mistake. It would be something like saying that smartphones have no future because you're judging them based off of an old BlackBerry model from 2008. The free versions are what we like to call toys. The enterprise models, the ones that we at VIBEOB build on, are tools. They are secure, they're accurate, and they are capable of reasoning, not just chatting. So today we aren't talking about the toys, we're talking about the technology that actually drives business. Back in 2021, if you wanted to build integrated automation for your business, here's what you were facing. Number one, it was complex. You needed specialized developers who understood backend systems, APIs, webhooks, database architecture, and most small business owners couldn't even have the conversation because the technical language was too impenetrable. Number two, it was expensive. We're talking $100,000 minimum for basic integration software, but often much more. That put it completely out of reach for anyone who wasn't already operating at a significant scale. Number three, it was extremely slow. We're talking 6 to 12 months from the decision to implement until you had actually something running. By the time you launched, your business needs might have already changed. And lastly, it was expert only. You had to hire a team, you had to manage them, and you hoped and prayed that what they were able to deliver is what you actually needed. Now the shift in 2026, everything has changed. The tools are accessible. Platforms exist with intuitive interfaces that business owners can actually understand and guide. They're affordable, finally. We're talking about a fraction, sometimes 5 to 10% of what of the same capabilities used to cost. They're rapid. What used to take a year now takes weeks. You can go from decision to deployment faster than your competitors can finish their planning their meetings. And they're user friendly. You don't need to become a developer. You need to understand your business and the tools to adapt, to shift. It's not incremental anymore. It's revolutionary. And that's why we're having this conversation tonight. So I want to talk about a couple of the technological developments and shifts that's happened over this revolution. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the web development evolution. So let me give you a concrete example. This is backend development. For the last 10 years, if you were a small business, web development usually meant one thing, a brochure of some sort. You paid someone to build a static site that just sat there. It maybe displayed your hours, your address, and maybe a contact form. It was a digital business card. If you wanted that website to actually do work, to process data, to manage inventory, to create user portals, that really wasn't a web page anymore. That was software engineering, and that door was locked for most users. But today, the door is wide open. The revolution isn't just that we can build websites faster, it's that we can build applications. We aren't just building pages for your customers to read anymore. We are building portals for them to interact with. We can build internal dashboards for your staff to track jobs. We can build client login areas where files are automatically generated. We can move from displaying information to automating operations. So stop thinking about web development as just marketing anymore. Start thinking of it as building your own custom internal tools. So I'm going to talk about the 7 horsemen of API integration. So first, the terminology is a little bit technical. Let's talk about what it even means. So what is even an API? API stands for an application programming interface. What does that actually even mean? The analogy that I like to use to describe an API is a restaurant, or a high-end restaurant specifically in this case. So I want you to picture yourself as a customer sitting at a table. In technical terms, you are the user. Now in the back, there's a massive, complex kitchen with chefs, ovens, and inventory. That is the system or the database in this case. You don't want to walk into the kitchen and start cooking. You don't know where the ingredients are, and you don't know how industrial ovens work. And frankly, you really shouldn't have to know. So how do you talk to the kitchen without going inside of it? You use a waiter. The API in this case is the waiter. It's the mechanism. The waiter brings you a menu. That's the documentation. It tells you exactly what the kitchen is capable of making. You give the waiter your order. That's the request in this case. The waiter runs into the kitchen. The kitchen's able to do all of the heavy lifting. And the waiter brings you back exactly what you asked for, the response. Now, why does this analogy matter for your business? Because in the digital world, you don't just have one kitchen, you have dozens. Think about the tools you use right now. Maybe you have a payment processor like Stripe or PayPal. Maybe you have a CRM for your customers. Maybe you have QuickBooks for accounting or Gmail for your communication streamlines. Maybe an inventory system or a scheduling tool. Right now, for most small businesses and businesses in general, these tools are on their own solo islands. Information lives in Stripe, but it's not able to live also in QuickBooks. If you want to move it, a human being has to stop working, stop what they're doing, copy the data, and paste it somewhere else. That's slow, it's boring, and it's where human error happens. The solution is the API. An API changed that system completely. It's the connective tissue that's able to turn those islands into a sole continent. With APIs, we don't have to rebuild your software. We're just able to hire more waiters. We set up one waiter to watch Stripe. The second a payment is able to come in, the waiter runs the data over to the QuickBooks kitchen to log in revenue, then runs to the inventory kitchen to deduct the stock, and finally runs to the email kitchen to send the receipt. It creates a seamless flow across your entire infrastructure. No copying, no pasting, no mistakes, just business that's able to happen at the speed of software. Now, what does API look like with AI integration? We know that the API are the waiters in this example, connecting your software or the islands. Now, what does that feel like in your day-to-day operations? Number one, it's able to eliminate manual data entry. Remember the copy-paste nightmare that I was talking about before? It's gone. Your team stops acting like human bridges between systems. A customer is able to enter their info once on a form, at checkout, wherever, and the APIs instantly carry that plate to every other kitchen. It populates everywhere it's needed automatically. Second is the capability to do real-time synchronization. Because the waiters run instantly, everything stays up to date. When inventory changes in the warehouse, your website knows immediately. When a payment processes in Stripe, your accounting software reflects it also at an instant speed. No more end of day reconciliation marathons where you try to figure out why the numbers don't match. And thirdly, we reduce errors. Scary stat to hear is that human transcriptions have an average error rate between 1 to 6%. It might sound small if you process maybe 100 orders a week, six angry customers, or six messed up invoices every single week. But if you scale that automated data transfer scales to a large number over the long spread of time. And finally, the beautiful part with these APIs is you're able to scale effortlessly. Handling 10 orders takes the exact same amount of effort as handling 10,000 orders. Your systems don't get tired, they don't make mistakes when they're rushing, and they don't need coffee breaks. The efficiency is identical, whether you're a startup or a massive enterprise. This is how you grow without breaking. I want to talk about the second type of tool used in these integrations called webhooks. So to understand webhooks, first you have to understand the old way of the industry, which is there's a term we call polling. The analogy I like to use for this is imagine kids in a car. Imagine you're driving a car with kids in the back seat, and this is the classic story. You know exactly how this goes. Every 5 minutes, they ask, "Are we there yet?" You say no. 5 minutes later, they ask, "Are we there yet?" No. Are we there yet? No. In the industry, this is called polling. Your software is constantly pestering your other software, asking, "Do we have a new order?" It answers no. "Do we have a new order?" It answers no. It's ineffective. It wastes resources. And most importantly, there's a huge delay. If the order comes in right after it's asked, you won't know until it asks again. Webhooks change the rules completely in this example. With a webhook, the kids sit quietly in the back.
Hello?
They don't, yes,
No, you continue. That was a mistake. You did. Questions are
no
there.
problem. So with a webhook, the kids sit in the back. They don't say a word, but the second you pull into the driveway, you turn around and shout, "We're here." This is a webhook in this example. It's the "don't call us, we'll call you" system. When an event happens, boom, the data is sent instantly, no asking and no waiting. So what does "we're here" mean, and what does it look like for your business? It looks like instant action. When a new customer signs up, the moment they hit submit, the webhook is able to fire instantly. They get a welcome email customized to their specific interests instantly. Your sales team gets a Slack notification instantly. The onboarding workflow begins. All of this happens under 1 second because the system didn't have to ask if there was a new user. The second example is when a payment is received. The customer completes checkout, a webhook is able to trigger, they get a receipt immediately, your accounting updates in real time, your inventory is able to drop by 1 unit, the shipping label prints to the warehouse, and it's a domino effect. But every domino in this case falls the instant the previous one touches it. Now, this is the difference between a business that feels slow and disconnected, like I talked about the old polling version, versus one that feels responsive and alive using webhooks. Your customers notice this. They notice when the confirmation is instant. They notice when the service feels immediate, and webhooks ensure that nothing falls through the cracks and no one is left waiting. So bringing webhooks into the advanced AI integration, this is where it gets really interesting. This is what we're really passionate about. We're not just talking about simple webhooks anymore. We're talking about the AI enhanced webhooks that bring intelligence into every step. Now, this includes three different things. It includes smart filtering. AI is able to analyze incoming webhooks instantly. It's able to block the noise, spam, and irrelevant data before it even touches your systems. This reduces the server load, and it means that you're only processing high value signals. Your team isn't getting pinged for things that don't matter. Secondly, we're talking about intelligent processing. These webhooks, before even the data gets stored, the AI can automatically summarize long texts, tag sentiment in customer messages, or format complex technical data into readable insights for you. What arrives in your database is already clean, organized, and usable. And it has context-aware rounding. Instead of hard-coded rules, AI reads the actual content and decides exactly which tool or team member needs to receive it. Support tickets automatically go to your team system. Sales leads route to your CRM, and urgent issues escalate to the right person. All sorted by context, not just by form fields. This is the frontier of automation. Systems that don't just execute rules, but understand the context and are able to make intelligent decisions. So we've talked about a little bit about how the technology works, and listen, it's really important to understand. Now let's talk about what happens when you actually turn it on and use it in your business. So we did some statistical analysis on our side, and we looked at the workload. What we see is a 70 to 80% reduction in the manual tasks. To be clear, the work still gets done. It just doesn't have to get done by you. All that data entry, the copying, the pasting, the double checking, the drudgery evaporates. Your team stops being data movers and starts being decision makers. We're saving the average small business around 15 to 25 hours every single week, including in that package a 90+% accuracy improvement based off of their own original scores. And finally, if you can see the bottom right, what I talked about before, the infinite scalability factor. This is the most important point for your business's future. Usually, how it happens when a business grows, your overhead grows, you get more customers, you need more staff. With this model, that link is broken. You can double your sales next month, and your automated systems won't even blink. You scale your revenue without scaling your stress. This is the difference between running a business that consumes you and building a system that's able to serve you. So I'm going to talk about the different types of scheduling broken up into the 4 categories. You have your daily task scheduling, weekly tasks, monthly tasks, and quarterly tasks. So what's able to happen on the daily? On the daily, you can generate sales reports that generate themselves, emails that generate themselves every morning. You're able to do customer follow-ups that send an optimal time-based instincts on customer behavior, data backups that run automatically, social media content that is able to post itself on a schedule on a weekly basis. You can have inventory levels that get checked and reorder alerts that trigger automatically. You can have your team performance reports compile themselves, customer satisfaction surveys that go out. Your different systems are able to all reconcile their own data and store it for you and present it to you on a weekly basis. On a monthly basis, you're able to do invoicing, which happens completely automatically, payment reminders that send themselves, financial reports generate for your review, subscription renewals process without intervention. And on a quarterly basis, it was able to do comprehensive analytics reports that generate completely by themselves, system health checks and optimization runs for the own integration system, strategic data analysis that prepares itself for your planning sessions, and it's able to do and generate compliance documents and update itself for your business on a quarterly basis. The key insight here is that these aren't just convenient things, they're transformative for your business because they happen whether you remember them or whether you don't, whether you're available or whether you're not, whether your business is having a busy week or a slow one. These happen automatically. So let me walk you why schedule automation is so powerful. I've talked a little bit about the tools and a little bit about the capabilities for using them, but it really boils down to four main things. Number one, the consistency and reliability of it. Critical tasks run exactly when you need. You're not dependent on someone remembering, having the time, or being in the office. The system is reliable in a way that manual processes simply can't be. The time savings is huge. We're talking about 10 to 20 plus hours reclaimed per week for a typical small business. And that's really not an exaggeration. When you add up all the routine reports, the follow-ups, the data updates, and it checks and it compounds very quickly. A huge thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the mental freedom component. The cognitive load of tracking all of these mundane tasks in your head is just simply exhausting. You're using mental energy just to remember what needs to happen and when. Automating frees that cognitive capacity for creative problem solving and strategic thinking. And like I talked about before, 24/7 operations. For most of you here, probably 24/6.
So
Yes.
yeah, Yehuda. So I'm saying now that we've reached this point, though, can we focus because our time is limited? What are some of the tools that we could guide people to? They could start testing this out for themselves on their own. Like what type of stuff is there? I mean,
So there's a lot.
we see
So,
we get the power of AI, but what are things people could do in their businesses by themselves right now?
so there's a lot of different tools for usage for businesses that want to use AI and get systems to integrate and operate. A couple of tools that are interesting right now that we are seeing use in the market, like Base 44, Claudebot for personal assistance. We're seeing a lot of flow and operations for other systems that
One
are
second. So
currently in
let's
development.
unpack each one. So base 44, I've seen some ads for them, but what is that, and what would a business do with that?
So how Base 44 works, and obviously all of these systems require a certain level of knowledge and understanding to get into the nitty-gritty of how the actual operations work. But let's say a startup per se wanted to develop an MVP for a product or wanted to understand a little bit more how a system would operate on a basic level to develop for themselves a CRM or a product that they wanted to get into the marketplace and to see it visually. A Base 44 system is able to track and use language that is spoken. So we're talking about text. So it takes a list of requirements from you, the user, and it's able to output and generate for you a list of capabilities and responsibilities that it'll take on, and it'll generate the systems for you. In this presentation by itself, we kind of go over the general overlay of the potential capabilities for specific businesses and the opportunities for these businesses beyond the basic integration platform, because a lot of these models, the basic model, like I talked about before, you're not going to get the biggest bang for your buck from a basic model, right? Because if you want to to get into the AI game, you have to pay a little bit more to get some more computing power, right? The more computing power you have, the more instructional information you're able to generate for allow these AIs to generate for you. I would really love to continue with the presentation itself because we have some very cool and interesting things that we've created for ourselves, and we would love to demonstrate some of the tools that we've used and the things that we've created in our business.
No, go for it.
So just one quick thing before
Just
I
bear
get
in mind
into
the
the
time now, because it's 2:37. So technically, there's 8 minutes till the Q&A. So I see it looks like you're about halfway through.
So we can move a little bit more into the understanding of the compound effect and the divergence between the businesses who automate. Around the point is really to stress the difference between automation and the not automating of these big businesses. So
No,
I'm gonna
by
let
the
me.
way, I think I just want to say, just because of the time constraint, I think you made that very clear. I think everyone on here gets that automation is going to change, dramatically. I think everyone just wants to know, like, what could they jump onto right now, and what tools, what would things cost for them to push that a little further. So I think you could just push to the action part more. I think the
Yeah,
point was
let's
very
jump on
clear.
to the use cases.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So I'm gonna just share the screen for you real quick. Open this new tab. I'll let Omer take the jump
Yeah, yeah.
here.
Okay. So I'm going to go over two projects that we've built to our customers using AI development platform called Base44. So we've all been there. A client sends a long, messy email or a voice message describing what they meant and what they need. You then spend 45 minutes crunching numbers, checking spreadsheets, and typing up a formal PDF. And by the time you send it, they've already called your competitor. One of my favorite success stories at the VIBEOB is how we transformed the quoting process to our clients using LLMs, which means large language models. So think of it as an automatic pricing brain. The client describes their project in plain English, no forms, no complicated checkbox. Our AI reads that text, identifies the scope of work, and plugs it into a custom pricing calculator we built. And the result, the client gets a precise professional proposal in their inbox before they even close their browser tab. For a business owner, this means two things. One, zero manual labor, no more late nights building spreadsheets. The second, the speed to lead advantage, that's how we called it. In the business world, the first person to send a quote is usually the one who wins the deal. Now let's get over of the second one.
Share the screen. I believe I've shared the second one on the file, so
Okay,
so
okay,
that
doesn't
they can
matter.
see it.
Okay, so the second one, now let's talk about the challenge every growing business faces, lead leakage, where the client was spending thousands on ads, but their leads were scattered everywhere. Emails, Facebook messages, Instagram DMs, and Excel sheets. They were literally losing money because they couldn't keep up. Here's how we solved it. We built them a centralized CRM and connected it to every single lead source using automations. We call it the magnet effect. The second a lead clicks an ad or fills out a form anywhere on the web, our system sucks that data immediately. No manual typing, no copy pasting. Instant action. The automation doesn't just store the lead, it immediately tags them, assigns them to the sales rep, and sends a personalized welcome text. The result, a client went from hunting for lead info to having a clean, organized dashboard where every dollar they spent on marketing was accounted for. In the business market, we call this speed to lead. If you don't respond to a lead within 5 minutes, your chances of closing drop by 80%. Our system makes sure you're always first. And this all were built in Base 44.
Right. So moving on to the solution implementation, I know, Rabbi, that you wanted to talk a little bit more about the tools that people can use for themselves today to get started. So we would recommend tools specifically for the users, the solo entrepreneurs, to invest in a tool called Base 44. We would invest in large language models called Perplexity. There's anti-gravity that's now working. There's ClaudeBot for users that want to be able to have their own level of personal assistance. But in regards to the level of this presentation, really the main goal that and the things that I want to leave behind for the people to remember tonight is that the automation is really the essential infrastructure, and it's for a lot of businesses and the businesses that I've interacted with, the idea and the mindset in their mind is that it's optional, and the truth is and the message that we're trying to share is that it's really not even a competitive advantage anymore. It's a requirement just to enter and to compete in these businesses. That the effects of automating your systems, either being knowledgeable yourself in the field or having somebody who's been in the field and is able to automate a process of your system, compounds massively over time. The technology barrier has really collapsed in most areas, meaning that people are able to get these resources at a very fraction of the price that it was normally required. And the tools exist and they work today for people's businesses. The implementation from idea to generation is faster than people think. These things don't take 6 months, they don't take a year. We offer specifically 10 to 14 business days, for an example. And while you're waiting, your competitors are in action. And the question really isn't if, but when and how. Every business will eventually automate or be replaced by one that did. The question is whether you move proactively or reactively in this circumstance. The opportunity, the cost of waiting exceeds the investment costs of implementing these tools now. And the businesses that recognize this will be the ones thriving in 5 years from now. So we're going to open it up to questions.
Yeah, so somebody posted on the chat already that if you could explain what Claude Bot is and how that works.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So CloudBot is a different variation of an AI where its focus is to understand the best formats for you personally. So before I get into the questions, I would also just like to leave this open for the viewers on the page. This is a QR code so we can get some feedback on the presentation, so we can be in contact with you a little bit later on if you would like, and so that we can kind of build a relationship and understand the needs of your business, so that we can learn a little bit more on how to make our skills as a team a little bit better for you, the consumer and the customer. So I'll get back to the CloudBot. The CloudBot really is basically a personal assistant, if you would think about it, right? Where you have an old computer setup, and it has the ability to access the information off of your drive and then implement that for you. So you give it a certain level of autonomy. You want to make sure that you go through it thoroughly, and it'll ask you a lot of different questions and variations for the things that it can't do and the things that it can do. But it's basically an installation system that you're able to install on your computer, and then it goes to work for you in a certain sense. It has some limitations of what it can and can't do, but it's good to be a general personal assistant for you. So it can help you set reminders, set tasks, set goals, help you do creative writing, organizational skills that you want to work on. It can help develop some basic apps or some basic tools for you. It's not going to be anything so massive, or I would say so huge on a coding level, but it will do a great job for being that, I would say, personal assistant to the individual. You just want to make sure that you give it the perfect guidelines so that it understands you to a very deep level, so that it can start to go to work for you. Let's see if
Okay. Yeah. But in terms of privacy, someone just asked, like, wait, with Claude Bot.
So privacy with CloudBot
is computer. How's that work?
So CloudBot and privacy is a huge issue, and it brings out a lot of skepticism in a lot of people, right? Because if it has autonomy to work on your behalf and you give it access to your credit card information and your email, it can send those things for you. So a lot of people in the business now, what they're doing is they're using an old configuration, an old laptop of theirs. They're creating another email address, so they don't attach it to their own private personal email address, so it doesn't have that information, but it still has enough information about you, the person using it, its creator, to start working for you. So I would be very careful about the information that you give it because you don't want that information to be stolen, whether it's a credit card information, your social security, or anything information that pertains to you. Not that I don't believe that information is out there on the public sphere potentially already, but you don't want it to be to an extent where it's going to be so far in the public sphere that you might as well be telling people in the street your social security number. That is not advisable.
Okay. We'll just take a few more questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, if you could just raise your hand, if there's the feature, the React feature, if you could raise your hand if you want to ask a question, and then or in the React, there's a thing that says React, and then there's a place you could just raise hand, and if anyone raises their hand, we'll take their questions right now. Okay, while we wait for people to do that, just from your experience, what aside from Claude and the base 44, is there anything that people could take on their own, like right now, that they could just enhance their lives using AI, like any other tools that come to mind for you?
100%. So the issue with just saying AI in a blanket statement, like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that it's an AI that's at some tier of premium level. Doesn't have to be the most premium level, but the more premium you get, the less mistakes you get, and the more reliable and trustworthy results are. So if you want an AI that's really good for writing capability, we recommend Claude, which is an AI that specializes in specific word placement and understanding that codex of how to systemize different placements for writing, creative writing, understanding a little bit of coding. If you want something that's more software based, we recommend Gemini. Gemini is a good AI on that front. But like I said, if you're judging these AI tools based off of the basic formula, it's a little bit disappointing, right? Because the large levels of compute is where it's actually going to become it's going to become powerful, and it's able to be implemented in your day-to-day life. I just got a question of how you can contact me after the session. So you can scan the QR code. You put down your information, and we'll be happy to send you back. You can leave in your notes your phone number, and we'll be happy to connect after the meeting session is over.
All right, we have Moshe Hirschhorn has raised his hand. Go ahead, Moshe.
Yes, Moshe.
Yes, thank you. So I had a question about Manus. If I wanted to pursue something that was a personal, like I said, business assistant, would something like Manus be appropriate? The paid version of it?
There's pros and cons to Manus. The paid version is decent at working. It depends exactly about how you want to implement it.
Sorry, could you just explain what Manus is to everyone else that's listening?
So Manus is basically a personal assistant AI that it's similar to Claudebot in a lot of ways. It's just a more paid premium version of that specific genre, where it does kind of go to work for you in a more personal assistant way, where you give it specific instructional guidelines. It understands the fundamentals of the business, and it's able to do planning, and it's able to automate a lot of systems in your manual day-to-day tasks for your business. So it is, in a sense, a personal assistant for you.
I see you recommend Claudebot over Manus.
So Claudebot or Manus are good for I'd say that maybe some day-to-day operations for
But
sure.
he was asking if you recommend one more than the other.
So I would definitely recommend Manus more than Claudebot, although Claudebot is free, like I mentioned before. Information being out there in the public sphere, personally, I just don't feel it's not something I would feel comfortable with. Having my information so vulnerable to being captured in a way, and the more premium model allows for some protection and security to your information.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, someone just asked now, Haley asked, what about Copilot? It interfaces well with Microsoft Office. Comments on
So
that?
Copilot is interesting as in regards to AI levels. It's not the high-end level of software. It depends on, again, what you want to use it for. Copilot is good at giving some answers to, let's say you're working on an Excel spreadsheet and you want to get some answers to certain formulas or functions. So it's a relatively good interface for your Microsoft Office tools. But in regards to having its own autonomy to do things for you in a proactive way, I wouldn't recommend necessarily Copilot as that engine.
Okay. Fine. Just the last question in terms of these, just to give people a frame of reference, pricing for something along the lines of what these different automations that you've been discussing that your company does. What is the price range on that?
So price ranging obviously depends on the specific implementation you want for your business, right? Where if it's a large implementation, a large integration where you're integrating your software, your accounting, and you want to make sure that all these systems are in place, our pricing kind of ranges between, I'd say, 10 to 12,000 for integration, and that has some, like, it's not everything is perfect on the first run. Let's say it's 95% perfect, and then there's integration and little changes and tweaks to make it work perfect for your business over the long run. And there's things that you may want to update and implement, but I wouldn't pay anything over $20,000 for one of these integrations. At this point, the software is available to work for you within that barrier cap for the market. So there's competitors that are charging more and taking longer to implement. So I wouldn't go for anything beyond that barrier. Someone asked in the chat what ChatGPT is good for. Like I mentioned previously, I do feel the necessary need to repeat myself a lot of the times. ChatGPT is good for a lot of different things, but it depends on which model you use, right? If you're using the free tier, it's going to make a lot of mistakes. We call them in the industry hallucinations. The more premium you get the tier, the more premium results you get. So ChatGPT is good for image creation. It's good for ChatGPT seems like the go-to. So for a lot of different people, ChatGPT is the standard. There are a lot of different variations, but you just want to make sure that it's a model that you feel comfortable with. That's the most important point. So if you feel comfortable with a model and you feel comfortable conversing with it, and it feels smooth and it flows nicely with you, then my recommendation would be to upgrade to the Pro model, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, and you're going to get the best answers for you.
Okay. All right. So it seems like we hit the end of the questions. So thank you very much, Yehuda, Omer. Excellent presentation. Thank you everyone for joining us. Just as a heads up, next month our webinar series continues, and we actually have a very exciting webinar coming up on the topic of business strategy. Okay, we actually have a really cool Ron Bitterman, who's a business advisor, is going to he talks a lot about why entrepreneurs fail and what you could do to make sure your business is a success, and how to match your personality to your business. Very interesting perspective. So stay tuned for that, coming up on March 17th. In between, for any of you that are looking to speak with a business mentor, don't forget CHYE. We offer free business mentorship. You could always come to our website, chye.info, and request to speak with a mentor. Until next time, everybody, have a wonderful week and a wonderful month. Take care.
Thank you so much again. It was a pleasure talking with you all.
Thank you.